What's going on, everybody? Welcome in Fantasy Alarm live stream, Monday Night Football live stream. I'm your host, Howard Bender. With me, of course, John Impemba. It was ugly sweatshirt day today in the Impemba household, and he's representing with that colossal win over the Minnesota Vikings. Look at you making Kirk Cousins look like Kirk Cousins. Always overrated anyway.
Yeah, they showed up again. Whenever I doubt the Patriots, they put forth one of their better efforts of the season. I should just continue to do that.
Can we talk about the cookie stealing that goes on over at the goal line? Because I got to be honest with you, man. This whole Devlin taking it in for 2 touchdowns, leaving Sony Michel hanging out to dry, James White twisting in the wind. This is not fun, dude.
So you didn't have the Patriots fullback in any of your DFS lineups?
I know, right? Go figure.
Seems like a mistake. Rex Burkhead activated. You figured, he maybe could have vultured a touchdown, and then you'd be like, damn, but okay, I can see it. Nope, 2 fullback dives for scores, and now you have to keep that in mind. The Patriots showed it, and I think they showed it so other teams will see that they're willing to do it. Now, how many more times do they do it? Is that something we always have to worry about now? That was certainly frustrating. I had James White. I didn't have any shares of Michelle. So, but still, not something you often see out of New England there.
Yeah, I actually didn't have any shares of either one of them. Minnesota's run defense is decent enough as it is. Yeah. Whether they're playing the pass for the running backs or they're just stuffing it between the tackles. So I wasn't really into that. But, it's another black eye, basically, on the Patriots running back situation where you thought that you were doing well with Sony Michel, when you thought you were doing well with James White. They pull the rug out from under you. It's kind of like, to be perfectly honest, it's like Gus Edwards is not worth it in Baltimore now because Lamar Jackson only takes touchdown runs. And it's not worth looking at Shady McCoy either now because Josh Allen's decided, I'm just going to be a 100-yard rusher every game.
Yeah. Where did that come from? I mean, did we know that was part of his skill set when he was drafted?
I mean, we knew he was mobile. We knew he was, he could, run a little bit. But I mean, 99 yards 2 weeks ago, 145 yards this time around, or whatever it was.
Yeah, 135. It's crazy.
What a crock! But these guys are all about, I'm just going to take the ball. And once they get inside the red zone.
Well, the problem is that they're young and they have zero pocket presence, awareness. They don't have the patience to let a play develop. So as soon as they see hot read's not there, and they take off. And that's just the problem with some of these quarterbacks being drafted now that aren't ready probably or shouldn't be starting in the league yet. And that's what you get. You get them sort of scrambling around. So
it's not going to be fun. It's definitely something to keep in mind if you made your playoffs. That's right, because there are a lot of people who did not. I mean, this was a bizarre week because I was going through everything and the process between Thursday and yesterday. And it was like Thursday you had the Saints-Cowboys game, which from a fantasy perspective was a disaster. I mean, Ezekiel Elliott did okay, but the rest of it was garbage. Then you had the Kareem Hunt news that broke on Friday. He was released, and everybody jumped on Spencer Ware. Ware didn't have the game that we thought he would, but 47 yards and a touchdown isn't the worst thing in the world here. But then, think about it. Brady, Breeze, Rodgers, Ryan, Luck, they were all busts. Michael Thomas, Julio Jones, these guys are all
Traquan Smith
busts.
with another,
he got ghosted again. I mean, this was just, this whole week was just an absolute nightmare. And listen, Traquan Smith is a fringe guy, but when you're sitting there and you're looking at, Juju Smith-Schuster not doing anything, and you're looking at, Diggs at least had the knee issue, but Thielen really didn't get as much work as
Anthony Miller had 0 until Cohen threw in the touchdown at the end of the game. If you were playing,
that saved me and it hurt me all in one fell swoop.
Yeah.
Because I cheered for it, and my wife looked at me and she was like, "Excuse me, did you put him in your DFS lineup or something?" I was like, "Yeah." She was like, "Win or lose this game, you lose." I was like, "Oh, all right then." So thank you for bringing up such a painful memory there.
Sorry.
Other thoughts here about this past week? It was just, again, like I said, it was kind of a bizarre week for everybody. How'd you do in your leagues? I mean, are you set and you head to the playoffs in most, or what?
I'm 50-50. I've in the 4 season leagues that I play in. So, I do a lot of DFS. I did more best ball than I probably should have this year. Everybody did, right? So, I mean, and I did well in best ball for what I did over on RT Sports, but I'm 50-50 in my seasonal leagues. So, yeah, up and down. I got hurt. In one league, I started off 4-1, and then I was facing the guy who's with winless. I made a joke about having like a bye week, and I lost 8 straight weeks from that point on. And I think Karma Police just got to me. Another league I was pretty much never in it because I drafted Drake and Fournette, and they just bent my teams over. But yeah, two other leagues I'm in them. I had to watch Chase Edmonds rush for 2 touchdowns yesterday. Only
there you go, another one,
Johnson, right? And I'm like, what's going on? So yeah, limping slowly into the playoffs. I had to hold my breath with James Conner going down his leg contusion last night because he's on both my playoff teams. One of which I drafted Love Bell. So losing Conner going into the playoffs as well. But it turns out it doesn't seem like that's gonna be too bad.
Now let me ask you there with the James Conner, because it's so funny you say best ball. I was joking around with Mish. You heard us talking before the live stream. I mean, really, like, what kind of a crock of shit is this? I mean, if it's just an excuse to make football popular in June or July, okay, fine. But there's really, to me, it's not about being well prepared for the season.
Right.
Anybody can research a depth chart, and anybody can sit there and look and see what the systems are with the teams. But I mean, there's so many injuries that go on, and guys who lose jobs, get jobs, whatever. That, to me, best ball is just, I mean, it's no different than a lottery scratch. You might as well play in like a multi-entry GPP with one lineup. Yeah,
I mean, for me, I think for people who just like to draft, and which is why you could just easily do mock drafts, so that's really what you just enjoy doing. Like, that's all best ball really gives you. It gives you like the idea of like a real draft, but then after that, you just sort of forget about it and you check back like, oh, I have these 8 to 10 best ball teams that I just like threw $10 to $20 on to draft because if you're not finding the right mock draft experience, a lot of times like people don't take those as serious. So maybe best ball gives you a better feel for an actual draft process. Preparing for your drafts, I think that would be like the only utilization I would see for it, other than, like you said, just a lottery ticket. The fact that you have to draft really early half the time in these leagues, you don't know who's going to do what. Injuries happen in preseason. Guys get cut. Yeah, so I agree with you. It's kind of a crapshoot.
It really is. It's so funny because you mentioned it, and I haven't looked at a single best ball league of mine. I mean, I literally have not looked at a single best ball team.
I'm surprised
to see what I'm doing here.
I'm winning 2 of them outright, and then I'm like 4th to 3rd, 5th, and ish middle of the pack the rest of them. So I was fortunate that I was like super high on Christian McCaffrey this year. So I took Christian McCaffrey really as anywhere that I could,
right.
And that obviously paid off for me. So.
Yeah, I'm looking at standings right now, and so far, out of like the 6 or 7 that I've thumbed through, I think the highest I've been is 4th, 5th. Oh, here's 4th place here.
There you go.
Well, welcome to Team Num 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 Num.
And the best thing about best ball is it goes to week 17, so you get 4 more weeks to make up points. So
I don't even think it really. Oh, look, here's one that I'm in with you.
Yeah.
In Pemba number 3, yeah, I'm right behind you there. You're in 4th to last.
Yeah.
And my team Smoked Brisket, sitting right,
that was
right behind you.
That was after one of the Thursday live streams we do with Brandon. We tweeted out like, "Hey, we're all doing a best ball. Get in the best ball."
We're all pissing on $20. Here we go.
Yeah. Yeah.
Unreal. All right, some injuries of note from this week. How about this one? How about Matt Breida? Re-aggravates his ankle injury in warm-ups. right before, like, I mean, it was like no different than Evan Engram being ruled out right after lineup lock last week.
Yeah.
Where all of a sudden, so Breida, then he re-aggravates it. You picking up Jeff Wilson? I actually called him Jeff Nelson like 3 times on the show today because I was like, who the fuck is this guy?
I'm the same way. I'm literally Googling him while you talk about him. I don't know who this guy is. I've never heard of him. I don't pay attention to much 49er football these days. Even though
what? Come on, it's like a fantasy gold mine there.
I mean, Kittle's been good.
He hasn't. Not since Mullins took over.
I mean, Wilson had 15 for 61 and 8 for 73. Love the PPR numbers. That works. I mean, you asked me. I think it was on Wednesday. It's like, do you play Breida? I was like, if he's healthy, and they're like, well, what do you know? It's like, we don't know. We have no idea. When he's healthy, you have to play him. But at any given point, apparently now, before the game starts, when the game, like, he just goes down with injuries. He's, it's just paper mache, that guy is. So, but yeah, I mean, Wilson's probably going to be super popular in waivers this week if Breida's injuries anything really of note. So, can't take that fat budget with you. So,
exactly. Big news, obviously, Mike McCarthy gets canned from this week. Now, I mean, it was kind of funny because Jim and I were talking about it on the show. And, I was just trying to making a little bit of a joke out of it in the sense that, why is he going to be so pissed and bummed? It's December. It's not like Mike McCarthy's never going to get a job in the NFL again. So why not take advantage of the fact that you can sit there in the month of December, take the whole month off, enjoy the holidays with your family, ring in the new year, and then come January, you're like, okay, now I'm going to take my pick from like 6 different teams who want a piece of me.
I'm curious is if he ends up becoming a special advisor to some sort of playoff team. Because sometimes you see guys who get canned, find themselves on the staffs. Obviously, I know this from Patriots and McDaniels when he got fired from the Rams. All of a sudden, McDaniels was a special advisor to Belichick on one of the Super Bowl games that we ended up losing. But yeah, I mean, I think that's certainly possible. I think McCarthy could just easily end up on a staff, helping out, coaching, doing whatever to finish out the regular season into the playoffs. Because why not bring him? He's a good coach. I mean, aside from a couple bad years, really, with Green Bay, and you question some of the way he ran his offense. Obviously, not giving Aaron Jones the football early this year was, pretty kind of head scratching given how well he's running. But I mean, this year the Packers didn't have much on offense. I think Rodgers sort of quit on it a little bit too. He also got injured. You know how much that really impacted him. So I think they used McCarthy as a scapegoat. It was just a handful of years ago. They were in the playoffs, going to the championship game, if it was, or the Super Bowl even, or whatever, if it wasn't for the missed onside kick that the guy had there. So it's not as if he's had a bad tenure there, obviously, with Green Bay. So I don't think he'll be out of a job long, that's for sure.
No, listen, he's already linked to the Browns in the rumor mill. They're already,
everybody, you and I are linked to the Browns, I think.
No, I'm not linked to the Browns. They hate me in Cleveland. The entire city in Cleveland hates me. So, but I mean, listen, it's just such a I don't know. I mean, it was weird. And then Jim was talking about the, nobody likes being fired, and he's got the history. But of course, nobody likes being fired. But it's the NFL, and if you don't realize that that's the case, I mean, come on. Yeah. Like, let's grow up here. Let's be adults and understand the fact that it's all about wins. You're not worried about selling out Green Bay Stadium because you already do. And you got sellouts for at least the next 50 years at minimum.
The town owns the team. So,
right. So now, so I mean, if you got the power struggle, I guess Jim was like, "Well, you shouldn't have fired him like mid-season." I'm like, it's not mid-season. There are 4 games left. So, but the real question is now, though, is like, what are your expectations of the Packers moving forward? I mean, does this team like all of a sudden show life? Is Aaron Jones going to start getting more touches here? Any thoughts on Philbin as the interim coach and how things are going to run, or is this team just going to flounder over the next 4 weeks?
Well, I don't really have much on Philbin. I believe he was like a Dolphins coach at one time during one of their very bad seasons down there, I think, in Miami. So I'm not expecting much. I think this is an Aaron Rodgers now run team. I think Philbin is sort of the figurehead, and they're like, all right, Aaron, like whatever you want to run, go ahead, and maybe we see more out of Rodgers just throwing downfield. If he's even able, again, I don't know how injured he is. Like he says his knee's fine, but I mean he hasn't clearly looked like the Aaron Rodgers that people had expected of him. At times he's shown flashes, and early this season we saw him, have all those huge second half comebacks. But I think he's frustrated with his receiving group. Graham's been injured and inconsistent. He's got late round rookies he's trying to throw footballs to. Cobb's hurt. I'm sure he was holding his breath when Adams looked like he was dinged up for a little bit on Sunday too. Thankfully he was able to bounce back. But yeah, I think this is just sort of a lost season. I think Rodgers knows it too, and he's 35. He's banged up. He's probably just ready to start anew with a new team and maybe have a little bit more control this offseason about how things play out.
Should be interesting. I see Aaron Rodgers coming out to the huddle with like a stick and like a little portable sandbox. He's just going to start drawing plays in the ground. Just be like, here, you go this way, you run a post, and you do a button hook. Like that's the extent of what's going to end up being over there.
I agree.
So yeah, nightmare situation. A little question in the chat here. Aaron Mullinator wants to know. Is Kareem Hunt going to play anymore this year? Should I drop him for something before waivers run? Yeah. This dude's not getting picked up by anybody.
No, but even if he gets picked up, he's on the commissioner's exempt list. He can't even go near a stadium. They're definitely not going to let him play anytime soon, given the backlash. Yeah, I won't get into the whole Deflategate thing again, but I mean, the NFL
Thank you.
just did not care about this video. They just didn't care. All the reports came out again today where they told the Chiefs not to bother. They gave a couple courtesy calls to the girl, and she didn't want to move. She just wanted to move on. So the NFL was like, "Oh, okay." And then apparently another team is the one that somehow got a hold of this video, and they leaked it to TMZ, and then TMZ leaked it out, and this is why it's all becoming a thing. So the NFL and the Kansas City Chiefs were more than okay with just like nobody ever knowing what happened here, if it wasn't for TMZ leaking the video.
Well, I mean that's a huge issue, and that's a huge problem there. And I mean, to me,
right?
Yeah. No. I mean, listen, you're right. The fact that the video got released and it went public, and that to me is a deeper problem in the NFL. Like, it has nothing. I don't give a crap about Deflategate or anything like that. It's the fact that the NFL took it upon themselves to be like, oh, well, if the cops didn't, file charges against this, football star, because he knocked around some girl. I mean, people talking about the fact that she slapped him first. I'm like, you know what, dude? How many times have you seen a girl slap a guy who's like made a pass at her or anything like that? Okay, if she's not banging his buddy, and that's why he's kicking her out of whatever party was going on in that room. Yeah. I'd love to see that video of what was going on in there, because I guarantee it was like a whole mess of white line fever.
Yeah.
Okay, so that to see that and to have him come out into the hallway, and whether you think it's being recorded or not think it's being recorded. First of all, yes, understand this, people. There is zero privacy in this world. Right. Okay, you could be sitting alone in your room right now, and guess what? Somebody sees something. Somebody knows something. And somebody, if they want to go after you, will find a way to do it.
Right.
So this whole incident here, to me, this is just this uncovers just a deeper problem with the NFL. Like, the NFL thinks, like, I'm sorry, but yeah, the commissioner's office thinks that these players are what, above reproach? Well, if the cops didn't arrest her and she slapped him,
it's a double standard too. If you think of the Ezekiel Elliott thing, where like no charges were brought on Elliott, and all they had
dude on video pulled the girl's top down in public.
Sure, but I'm just saying. But
that's assault, brother.
I'm not saying it's not, but wasn't he? It was another thing too. Wasn't there a different domestic violence thing against Elliott? Wasn't that?
Yeah, there was a domestic violence thing against Elliott. Plus, there was the parade. Plus, there's the fights in the bars and all the other crap.
But so all those things they act upon, but then they know sort of almost a similar scenario, right? Where they knew the police report existed. They had an idea of what happened, and they didn't really care because it wasn't public. It wasn't until things are made public is when the NFL decides to make action, which is sort of the point I was getting to there. Was that if the NFL can get away with nobody knowing, they'll be okay with it. And that's the problem.
That's a huge issue. Yeah, it's like all of a sudden, like they had to take action with Ezekiel Elliott because he's a superstar.
Yeah.
And they had to take action with Kareem Hunt because he's a superstar. The whole Brady Deflategate thing, all that shit. Once that came to light, yeah, they had to take action for that because they don't want the public outcry.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a horrible thing, and that's a problem that lies in the commissioner's office. That's a problem that lies with Goodell right there. But you know what? I mean, it's rampant throughout the sport. Joe Mixon. How did Joe Mixon ever get drafted? You've got video of him punching a girl in the face in a public place, in a fast food restaurant.
Reuben Foster got claimed off waivers.
What's that? Reuben Foster got claimed off waivers.
Claimed off waivers.
Like, that's the thing. Like, these coaches are a bunch of idiots also because they're like, well, I don't want him running against me, so I might as well grab him from my team.
Hunt somehow managed to clear waivers. I was really skeptical if he was going to clear waivers or not. Because I believe he's going to be back in the league. I don't think this is it for him. Because people say, Ray Rice didn't come back. Well, Ray Rice was towards the end of his career, sort of.
Right.
You have the NFL leading rusher a year removed, still very young, coming off a huge season this year until this incident happened. If he's suspended for a year, Hardy was able to play in the league again. I think that there's going to be a team that eventually gives him a shot. He'll stand up in front of everybody, sort of like he did on that fake interview he gave on Sunday, where he tried to tell everybody that he isn't the person that was in the video, that he was raised by his mother and grandmother, but, he still was that person in the video. So I don't know.
The video was in February. It wasn't like it was like a video from like his high school days. Yeah. It was from February.
He's like, I'm not that person. It's like, well, you are because you did, so, yeah, crazy.
Piece of crap. Total piece of crap. Drives me nuts. All right, well, I wasn't planning on spending a whole bunch of time there criticizing the NFL and how piece of crap Kareem Hunt is. So let's just get to tonight's game here. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about the matchup here. Give me your thoughts. Eagles hosting the Washington Redskins. Carson Wentz, basically to set the stage here. Carson Wentz needs a big showing because he's getting crapped on, and everybody wants Nick Foles under center again because he's the true Super Bowl MVP. You've got Golden Tate, who is completely misused on a regular basis. Alshon Jeffrey's going to have Josh Norman on him. Josh Adams is in the backfield, but he was a little bit banged up. Then on the other side for the Redskins, Colt McCoy, who knows, is getting Jamison Crowder back supposedly today. So all of a sudden, him, Josh Doxson, Chris Thompson's back. So give me your thoughts here, man. How does this play out tonight?
So Philadelphia really needs to win this game. They just, again, you make the trade for Golden Tate. You're at home. You're facing a Redskins offense that isn't really good to begin with, and now they have their backup quarterback. Adrian Peterson's banged up. They're getting guys coming off injury. You don't know how in sync they're going to be with everything. This screams a game the Eagles should have little trouble winning, but like you said, they haven't been impressive at all this year. Talk about soup over hangover like you've seen. I still like Golden Tate. I mean, again, I talked about him last week. The 8 targets is nice, and he got 8 more targets again against the Giants. So they're looking to him. The chemistry just isn't there yet. So I'm still not down totally. I think what's more surprising is the lack of use there for Alshon Jeffrey now, because he and Carson Wentz had a lot of chemistry earlier in the year. They put up some good numbers. As soon as he came back from injury, he was looking pretty good as well. And then they just sort of stopped using them. I think he's hyper-focused on just throwing to Zach Ertz, which is fine. Ertz has had been fairly reliable all season long. And, I don't have no problem continuing to use him. And then we talk about Josh Adams, and he's another one of those guys with Aaron Jones where he's getting 7 carries, 8 carries, 9 carries, averaging 7 or 8 yards a game, or carry rather. And we're just pleading for him to get more touches, and he finally does. And has a big game against the Giants. So I think they should stick with the run. I think they should play the pass off the run. I don't think this Washington offense should be able to do much here. But that's, I guess, what we're going to have to wait and see.
Okay, so showdown slate for tonight. when we're looking at that, is this a game where you just say, you know what, screw this, let me just put Zach Ertz in the captain's seat?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think Ertz makes a lot of sense in the captain's seat. I don't mind, obviously, using the kickers, they help you get there.
Right.
So because, again, you put Ertz, he's the most expensive player in there, and then you really have, $6,600 left per player. So, go ahead, throw the kickers in there, and I think you can use the Eagles defense tonight. And that's probably...
What? The Eagles defense?
That's probably the route I would go. I know. So, yeah, use the kickers, use the defense, and then spend up elsewhere. That gives you $11,000, and you can fill in the rest of your lineup nicely. You have you have 2 spots left. You can go Wentz. You can go Adams if you want. You can even take any of those guys. So, for me, I'm stacking Eagles, and I'll use the Redskins kicker as my one-off there.
Are you playing any of the Monday, Thursday slate?
I haven't yet. Usually, after we get off this live stream, I go ahead and I dabble. I'll throw a lineup in there just to get some exposure to it. So I haven't actually looked at Thursday's game. I do remember it not being a good game because they were showing
it's Tennessee Jacksonville.
Yeah. They were showing game. Fox was trying to hype it up while I was watching the Patriots yesterday against the Vikings, and they're like, "Oh, Tennessee versus Jacksonville." I was like, "Ugh," no.
Tennessee off that riveting comeback win against the Jets and the Jacksonville Jaguars, winners 6-0 over the Colts this week. So gross. I just posted some example lineups over on fantasyalarm.com for the Monday, Thursday slate. You'd be surprised. The pricing on FanDuel, it's ridiculous. FanDuel, I think you can pretty much just go all chalk. You could go with the highest priced guys and still not have, and still have money left over. I put together a lineup where I legitimately had $6,000 left over. And that was Wentz, Fournette, I used Doxson and Maurice Harris. I used Zach Ertz, Golden Tate in there. The only thing I'm doing for these slates really is I'm stacking. I got a Eagles stack with some Washington Redskins mixed in, and then I've got a Redskins stack with some Eagles mixed in. And then on one side, I've got the Jaguars defense and Dede Westbrook, and on the other side, I've got the Titans defense and I think Jonnu Smith.
Yeah, I just don't know. Yeah, Jonnu Smith's a good play for sure. Where do you go after that? Can you trust Corey Davis got in the end zone, which is nice. The other week, last week rather.
He's gonna have Jalen Ramsey crawling all over him now.
So I don't know. I mean, we talk about letdowns and whatnot to begin the show. Andrew Luck and the Colts. I mean, what happened? I get you went on the road and not the dome, but really 0. You didn't score at all. Your defense held Jacksonville to 6. You couldn't put 1 touchdown on the board. You've thrown 3 or more touchdowns in 8 straight weeks. Couldn't get in the end zone.
Well, so here's the question now. Does that put the Jaguars defense back on everybody's radar? We were telling them throughout the slump, and there was a good 6 to 8 game slump where they were just terrible. Now all of a sudden, are they back? Are you in on this? Do you like AJ Bouye on one side, Jalen Ramsey on the other? You've got Calais Campbell. You've got Dante Fowler, Marcel Darius. I don't know if Darius is still hurt.
Yeah.
But, is all of a sudden, are we back on board with the Jags defense?
So I would have said no because they're on the road, but they're on the road now against Tennessee. And again, I don't know what to make of this Tennessee Titans team. I have absolutely no idea who they are as a whole group of football players. So, it's not a bad shot to throw Jacksonville out there. But what did they do against them earlier this year? I'm sure we have those numbers somewhere.
Did they play
Tennessee.
this year?
Oh, it was a 6-9 game. That was really
the barn burner.
This is going to be a fun game.
Right.
6-9. Why even bother?
I don't even know. Why'd they bother with the 6-0 game against the Colts? Either way.
But at least that one was in prime time. Only Jacksonville, and maybe not even Jacksonville. I don't know if they blackout issues there in Jacksonville had to see that game. So, yeah, gross.
Awful. Absolutely awful. All right. Any final thoughts that you want to put your stamp on with Week 13 before we get on out of here?
Any final thoughts? Philip Lindsay continues to be awesome.
I do love him so much.
Where did he come from? Nobody knows.
I don't know where is Lindsay originally from? What team? Undrafted free. I know he's an undrafted free agent.
He wasn't like invited to the combine.
Where did he? What school did he come from? Colorado.
Yeah.
Go Buffaloes.
Yeah. So I mean, just keep running him. They didn't raise his price. They didn't raise his price at all. It's like in that nice mid $5K range. I don't even know who they're playing this upcoming week, but it's been just keep running him. There's no reason not to play him. So
back-to-back 100-yard efforts there. He's got 5 touchdowns in his last 3 games. I dedicated a song to him on Jukebox Monday. I played a little Queen, a little "Don't Stop Me Now."
Oh, you're still in the Queen thing, huh?
I gotta tell you, man, I can't help it.
At San Francisco next week.
Oh yeah, Philip Lindsay, that's money in the bank right there. Look at that schedule: at San Francisco, then against Cleveland, then he's at Oakland for Week 16.
Yeah, that's good. That's pretty.
Yeah. I would say that's a cash game staple in your DFS lineups, and I'm willing to bet that Philip Lindsay ends up on the majority of championship winning fantasy teams this year.
Do you think there's any chance he steals Rookie of the Year from Saquon Barkley?
Do they do an overall, or is it NFC or an AFC?
I think it's. Do they break it up? I thought they just do an offensive Rookie of the Year. I guess I'm not sure.
If they just do an offensive one, he can't. Saquon Barkley's been ridiculous, dude.
It's true.
Like, did you watch any of that game against the Bears? Once they started giving him the ball,
they in New England, they gave us 2 games to watch for the Patriots game. It was the Bears Giants and it was the Dolphins Jets. So
Dolphins didn't play the Jets. Dude.
Whatever
Dolphins
they played.
Bills.
Dolphin Bills. So I had a lot of red zone going on, but we have 2 TVs, so we did have we had the Bears and Giants game on.
Oh, but I tell you, man, Barkley he was phenomenal.
He does. Yeah,
I agree. Phenomenal. So no chance that Lindsay steals it, but if they break it up AFC, NFC, well, I would definitely put my vote in for Lindsay in the AFC. That was, I mean, he's just he's and I even said it. I admitted I was like, here's a guy I was dead wrong on, like 100% wrong. I was like, I think like week 2, I was labeling him the this year's Tariq Cohen.
I was gonna say I said the same thing. I put him in the waiver wire article. I was like, so you can pick him up, but look how small he is. There's no way he lasts. They spent their early round pick on Royce Freeman. All of these things said this wouldn't happen, and all he did was kept on running. So good on him. 5'8", gonna run for 1,000 yards. Gives me hope. You know, I trimmed down a little bit. You know, get out there. Get him there.
All right, man. Listen, you know what? If I get to be your agent, sure. Absolutely. 100%.
Perfect.
100%. You know, I mean, just put your – I got a women's shelter to send your girlfriend to that if you're going to be an NFL player.
Oh, no. I'll ignore that part of it. Yeah.
You better. All right, guys, that's going to do it. Before I say something that'll probably get me, like, vilified on Twitter or somewhere else, and not make a joke out of it, because it is a disgusting thing. I'll just say let's get the hell out of here, man. Okay. Big thanks to Matt Sells for producing for us today. John, enjoy not watching Nikolai Mirotic tonight. Sorry about that one. And, appreciate you guys tuning into the Fantasy Alarm live stream. Good luck with your Monday night games. We'll catch you next time.
See ya.